LinkedIn presents.
Anxiety and attention are intertwined aspects of our lives because anxiety is, in many ways, shaped by the movement of our attention. What is it that we pay attention to? Where do our minds linger or become stuck? We might find our minds drawn in many directions at once, or we might think about the same concern over and over. And then, what aren't we paying attention to?
Happy Wednesday, friends. I'm Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily, quick masterclasses from the best new books written and read by the authors themselves. Now, don't forget to hit follow in your podcast player and sign up for our free newsletter using the link in the episode notes. Today, let's talk about anxiety, a mental health condition that's become alarmingly common in recent years. If you've ever suffered with anxiety, you know it has a way of shrinking the world. It narrows your attention, tightens your body, and locks your thoughts into unproductive spirals. In the grip of anxiety, we fixate on threats, replay conversations, and scroll endlessly, not because we want to, but because we've forgotten how to look elsewhere. But what if the opposite of anxiety isn't calm? What if it's curiosity? In a new book, clinical psychologist Alexandra Shaker offers a way out of anxiety's traps, a way that leverages your natural ability to refocus your attention. Alexandra will share key insights from her new book, The Narrowing: A Journey Through Anxiety and the Body, right after this quick break.
From LinkedIn News, I'm Leah Smart, host of Everyday Better, an award-winning podcast dedicated to personal development. Join me every week for captivating stories and research to find more fulfillment in your work and personal life. Listen to Everyday Better on the LinkedIn Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
From LinkedIn News, I'm Jessie Hempel, host of the Hello Monday podcast. Start your week with the Hello Monday podcast. We'll navigate career pivots. We'll learn where happiness fits in. Listen to Hello Monday with me, Jessie Hempel, on the LinkedIn Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts.
My name is Dr. Alexandra Shaker, and I'm a clinical psychologist. I use the body as a map to delve into the science of anxiety alongside the existential questions that anxiety asks of us. I draw upon my expertise as a clinical psychologist and bring to bear the wisdom and tenderness of my personal experiences with anxiety. I'm going to share with you 5 of the key insights from my book. Insight 1: Anxiety cannot be hacked. When we are uncomfortable or in pain, it is natural to look for an escape route. In these moments, we want more than anything to change how we feel through whatever means may appear quickest. When I recall moments in my life when I felt particularly anxious, I recall too my overwhelming wish to flee the anxiety and all of its accompanying thoughts and physical sensations. The fear of having made a wrong decision, the blood rising to my face, and the sinking feeling in my gut. In these vulnerable states, we can easily fall prey to claims of quick fixes, of, say, a diet that will somehow eliminate panic attacks, or a wearable device that will induce calm throughout the nervous system with the press of a button. We are living in a time when these so-called cures abound, most of all on social media, and they're often difficult to resist. Their omnipresence is evidence of just how pervasive and troubling anxiety is. But the truth is, anxiety cannot actually be hacked. Depending on quick fixes inevitably ends in frustration and disappointment because, quite simply, they are not enough. So, instead of looking for hacks to eliminate anxiety, we can instead think about approaching anxiety at 2 levels. We can learn to use strategies to manage anxiety initially when it feels particularly overwhelming, like, for instance, breathing techniques and physical exercise, and then we can begin to look deeper. Treating anxiety in a meaningful, lasting way requires an appreciation for its depth. That is, for where it is coming from and for what it is trying to tell us. When we try to hack our way out of our distress, we miss an opportunity to learn from it. anxiety is a problem of attention. Our attention is in constant demand, from the perpetual news cycle to workplace requirements to the seductive nature of social media platforms. Today, in a time of political upheaval, natural disasters, and devastating wars, our attention is newly stretched, even contorted. Despite our best intentions, many of us find ourselves struggling to harness our minds. Our time and energy seem to be in short supply, our focus is unwieldy, and we are anxious. Anxiety and attention are intertwined aspects of our lives because anxiety is, in many ways, shaped by the movement of our attention. What is it that we pay attention to? Where do our minds linger or become stuck? We might find our minds drawn in many directions at once, or we might think about the same concern over and over. And then, what aren't we paying attention to? This isn't only a matter of staying on task or getting things done, it's more profound. Our attention is finite, so when our minds are stuck in one place, it's not just that we're miserable, it's that we also miss out on paying attention to other sorts of things about which we may feel curious or that might bring us joy. Research shows that anxiety is associated with heightened attention to threat. That is, when we're anxious, we are particularly aware of potential threats in our environment. But we are not powerless. Research shows, too, that attention is a crucial aspect of our capacity for emotional regulation. So, the more we learn to modulate our attention, the more we can regulate our emotional states, especially the uncomfortable and even painful ones. Although we can't always control the movement of our attention, we can learn to have some sway over it. The most widely known and studied method for developing greater control over one's attention is consistent engagement in mindfulness practices. Imagine how you might use your attention if you weren't constantly moving between your work email and your phone and the news, or if you weren't fixated on a conversation you had last week, or a family matter about which you have no control. And then imagine how you might feel as a result. Calmer, perhaps, more focused, and better able to appreciate the present moment. By learning to understand and shape the movement of our attention, we can make meaningful changes to our mental health. Anxiety can be a powerful source of information. Despite the reality that anxiety can be a source of frustration at best and suffering at worst, it is also a powerful source of information. Most of us have learned, in one way or another, to attempt to ignore our anxieties because they are a source of discomfort. But actually, anxiety can warn us of trouble ahead or compel us to look more closely at a situation we're unsure of. And anxiety can teach us about ourselves and the ways that we operate in the world and relate to other people. Many people live with chronic anxiety that manifests as thoughts and physical sensations without understanding its cause. When we notice anxious thoughts creeping in, or the physical sensations of anxiety emerging, the sweaty palms, the tightness in the jaw, the racing heart, instead of trying to distract ourselves from these uncomfortable sensations, we can ask ourselves what they might have to tell us. Perhaps there is a difficult family dynamic at play, or an issue at work that seems to evoke anxiety every time. We can tune into our anxiety to learn from it instead of ignoring it. Our anxiety can teach us about what we are afraid of. By learning what our anxiety has to teach us, by seeing it as a source of information, we no longer have to live by it. We can observe patterns in our own thoughts and behaviors, and in doing so, we can gain greater control over our decisions, instead of being ruled by feelings that we haven't yet made sense of. In this way, anxiety can become a teacher and a force for good. We should all strive to widen our window of tolerance. We all have different responses to intense emotions and different levels of tolerance for distress. Over the course of our lives, these responses are etched into us, seemingly a facet of who we are. For some people, a period of, for example, deep anger or exceptional stress seems to take over every thought, every action until it is resolved, whereas for others, these feelings can exist alongside other parts of life. Daniel Siegel, a psychiatrist who is also an expert on mindfulness, developed the term window of tolerance, and he explains, quote, "Each of us has a window of tolerance in which various intensities of emotional arousal can be processed without disrupting the functioning of the system," end quote. That is, the wider our window of tolerance, the more we are able to experience intense emotions without feeling utterly consumed by them. The principle of the window of tolerance is often used in the context of research on and treatment for trauma, but it can also be applied to a range of other emotional experiences, including anxiety. Research has found that higher levels of distress tolerance are associated with lower levels of anxiety, and conversely, higher levels of anxiety are associated with lower levels of distress tolerance. So, when we learn to tolerate distress more effectively, we also become less susceptible to anxiety. Widening one's window of tolerance isn't a matter of feigning positivity or sweeping feelings under the rug. Rather, it requires acknowledging your emotional state, anxious or otherwise, and learning over time to tolerate the accompanying thoughts and sensations, even when they are uncomfortable. Thankfully, our window of tolerance isn't fixed. We aren't simply born with a wide window of tolerance or not. We can increase or widen our tolerance with practices that include mindfulness and other forms of distress tolerance that can be learned both in psychotherapy and elsewhere. We can learn over time to better tolerate intense, often uncomfortable feelings like anxiety without being so thrown off. A stressor that may in the past have consumed your day might become a challenging but manageable part of it in the future. In this way, a wider window of tolerance can make our lives newly open to possibility. Curiosity is a way through anxiety. Anxiety narrows our minds. It creates tunnel vision, and it limits what we see. We know that anxiety is, in many ways, a problem of attention. So, when our attention feels overly fixed or rigid, or when we feel stuck in worry or doubt, we can tap into our curiosity as a way to move forward. I find that curiosity, whether about our own experiences or the experiences of others, allows for gentle questioning rather than interrogation. Instead of berating ourselves with questions about, say, why we are anxious, or ruminating about the same issue for hours, we can generate curiosity about how we feel and what it is that is driving our feelings. We can wonder about our experience from an open perspective. Curiosity can open doors to new depths of understanding. We can see the power of curiosity in our relationships, for instance, in the ways that curiosity about other people's perspectives can deepen our relationships. And this holds true in the ways that we relate to ourselves, too. We can see the importance of curiosity at play in a concept introduced by neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett called emotional granularity. Emotional granularity refers to the degree of specificity with which we describe our feelings. Even for the most introspective of people, it can be difficult to pin down our emotions with precision. We might say that we feel anxious, a nebulous term that reflects a wide range of experiences, and leave it at that, even in the privacy of our own thoughts. In these moments, we seem to hide in our words. We allow our emotional vocabulary to remain broad and general, as if in doing so, we won't feel our pain so acutely. But in fact, it's quite the opposite. When we are curious, we can find relief in clarity. Imagine if, rather than telling yourself that what you feel is simply anxious, you homed in on something closer to its essence, that you feel stuck in a cycle of rumination, irritable and hypervigilant. Through curiosity, there is potential for profound understanding. When we are curious, we become open to new explanations and understandings, whether about our own internal life or about the world around us. In this way, curiosity makes the world bigger rather than narrowing it down.
Thank you, Alexandra. Okay, everyone, you can get a copy of The Narrowing wherever you get your books. That's our show for the day. If you got something out of it, please leave a rating or review in your podcast player so others can find it too. And go to nextbigideaclub.com to find out about our hardback subscription club. That's where we send you the best new nonfiction books as selected by our curators, Malcolm Gladwell, Adam Grant, Susan Cain, and Daniel Pink. Check it out at nextbigideaclub.com. I'm Michael Kovnat. See you tomorrow.